Alright, so who's ready for some insane government corruption? I'm about to bring the roof down on this shit right now. And I'm gonna do this in two parts. In the first part of this video, I'm gonna show you how we know that these co-conspirators that were working with Jeffrey Epstein were helping him in New York at his Manhattan property, helping him abuse underage girls long after he got the non-prosecution agreement in Florida. And then in the second part of the video, I'm gonna show you how the Southern District Court of New York is basically just refusing to charge these co-conspirators for their parts in the Epstein pedophile network for absolutely no fucking reason. So let's get right into this. Right here, I pulled an email from Leslie Groff to some random person that we don't know because the government redacted it illegally. But if we start at the beginning of this email chain, we see this. I want to introduce Jeffrey with my girlfriend. Can you ask him to call me, please? Then there's a whole bunch of scheduling that occurs. They have to reschedule multiple times, and they finally land on the 25th of June, 2013, which is the day, tomorrow, after this email was sent. Now, we know for a fact that Jeffrey Epstein and all these other people would coerce these young underage girls into getting more people involved, more underage girls. He would send them out searching for them. He would give them like referral bonuses, basically, and he would scare the shit out of them so that they would do this for him. And here we have this here. I want to introduce Jeffrey with my girlfriend. And of course, everything is redacted. And I'm going to assume that these redactions are victims because that's what's legal. That is the only thing that is legal for them to be doing. Because they're not supposed to be redacting anybody else, right? That's what I'm going with because that's what the law says. And that's what this seems like to me. It seems like Leslie Groff is scheduling a massage for Epstein with a underage girl. Let's go on to the next one though. Leslie Groff talking to some guy in Ukraine about a girl. It sounds like they're gonna buy this girl or something. This guy says, darling, here's the pictures of new girl. She is 21, very sweet and lovely. Let me know if you receive them, please. I took them from her portfolio, so maybe the quality is not so good, but I think you can still see everything, winky face with 3 smiles. What does Leslie Groff do? She sends it directly. She forwards it directly to Jeffrey Epstein. And I seriously wonder if this girl is actually 21 years old. Or if that isn't just some bullshit from this person that's emailing Leslie Groff so that they're not documenting their crimes. Let's move on again. Here we have another fully redacted, all names redacted email with Leslie Groff scheduling another appointment with somebody. Leslie says, hi, can you come see Jeffrey on Wednesday, December 3rd at 10 a.m.? Smiley face. This person says, yes, sure. Blank, could you come see Jeffrey tomorrow at 1 p.m. instead of 10? Yes. Hello, reconfirming we will see you at 1 p.m. today, thanks. They're only supposed to be redacting victims' names, right? That's what I'm going to assume this is. This is Leslie Groff scheduling a massage with another victim. But let's move on to another co-conspirator here named Adriana Ross, or in some instances, Adriana Machinska. Now, this is a document from the courts in Florida in Epstein's original 2008, whatever you call it, with the law where he got off scot-free basically with 2 charges of child prostitution when he should have been hit with 40 plus. And I included this just to remind us all that this woman, Adriana Ross, was heavily involved in procuring underage girls for Epstein to sexually abuse. And not only that, but if we scroll down, we see that she also pled the fifth multiple times when asked about specific people such as Alan Dershowitz and Prince Andrew, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jean-Luc Brunel. And I include this too because we're going to get into the fact that the Southern District Court of Florida actually acknowledged the presence of these co-conspirators and Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. Okay, and I pulled this regarding Adriana from the recent release. We see an email with the subject as, are you getting these? And she says, hey, sexy. So guess what? There's more of these emails, but I couldn't find them for some reason. But one of the FBI agents forgot to redact her full name, or quote unquote forgot, so that we could all see that it was Adriana emailing Epstein as late as 2013, 5 years after he was convicted as a pedophile and when he was operating in New York mostly out of his Manhattan townhouse. But let's move on to the next woman, Sarah Vickers, who is being sued along with the estate of Jeffrey Epstein by an anonymous victim. I included this in my previous video, but I didn't notice that this was from the Southern District of New York. And what does this anonymous victim of Epstein's allege against Sarah Vickers? Well, this is what she says. We see here it says, aided by defendant Sarah Vickers, Epstein's scheduler and assistant, Epstein would summon this victim to his Manhattan townhouse, order her to give him massages, and then subject her to sexual acts, the severity of which increased over time. But that's not all. This victim also says that Vickers had an integral role in operating Epstein's operation of sex trafficking this victim and other girls. So yes, we see that long after Epstein was convicted in 2008, we have victims in 2019. This is 2019 civil case bringing these allegations against Sarah Vickers. Okay, and she hasn't been charged, but we'll get to that in a second. Because I also found this email involving Nadia Marchenkova, the girl who has been missing, basically ran away, fell off the face of the earth, got assassinated or something early on in like January of 2024, where she's saying, not only do I have to deal with people calling me a child molester, which affects me greatly, but I am also unable to make money for doing the things I enjoy, the things I do well and which would result in high earnings. There is a cap on my success forever, and I even have to argue my point, where she's basically trying to get money out of Epstein by guilt tripping him. But you know what? Nowhere in this fucking email does she say anything about, wow, Jeffrey, what you did was so bad. It's disgusting that you would abuse all those young women. She doesn't give a shit. She's still bringing up the fact that I wanted a family with you. You pushed me out. She's trying to get back in with him. She's trying to get money. And at no point does she actually deny the fact that this is true. She doesn't say people are calling me a child molester, which is untrue. She just says it affects her greatly, but is also affecting her ability to make money. And you know when she sent this? August of 2013, also 5 years after Jeffrey Epstein was convicted for prostituting children, which means that she was sticking around with him this whole time, and she was only blowing up at him and having whatever this is, a separation moment from him 5 years after that fact. And then I'll show you this down here, what Epstein says that set Nadia off. He says, I am not sure what it is you are asking for now. 100K, are we then done? Which we know ended up happening. If we could see further into this email conversation that they had, we would see something along the lines of Nadia agreeing to this 100K, because there is a document out there that shows that Avaloop received a $100,000 payment. And so that tells me that Nadia leveraged what she knew to get $100,000 out of Epstein. And what she knew had something to do with people calling her a child molester, which leads me to believe that she was involved. And so now we get to the second point of the video. Since all of this happened in New York, what has the Southern District Court of New York said that they are going to do about all this? Fucking nothing. Prosecutors won't charge Jeffrey Epstein's former assistant, Leslie Groff, who accusers say booked massage appointments and flights, her lawyers say. They're saying they're not going to do anything, and why is this? Well, the Southern District of New York, which is conducting the investigation into the conduct of Epstein and his associates, declined to comment to Business Insider on the decision of whether to charge Groff or not. They are literally not telling us why. They have absolutely no reason not to charge Leslie Groff or any of these other people. They're simply deciding not to. For absolutely no fucking reason. Now let me show you this. I pulled this out of the recent release. This is an indictment, everybody. A grand jury, 23 people, decided that Epstein should be charged with sex trafficking conspiracy. And this charge was being brought against him in 2019. This is 2019 criminal case number 490 in the Southern District of New York. United States of America versus Jeffrey Epstein. Sex trafficking conspiracy, not sexual abuse of young girls, a conspiracy, which means multiple people are coming together to commit a crime. And specifically, let me read this to you. This is what they wanted to do in 2019 before Jeffrey Epstein died. In creating and maintaining this network of minor victims in multiple states to sexually abuse and exploit, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, worked and conspired with others, including employees and associates who facilitated his conduct by, among other things, contacting victims and scheduling their sexual encounters with Epstein at the New York residence and the Palm Beach residence. Is that what this is? You guys think maybe that's what this might be? This is an underage girl referring one of her friends or somebody else to Jeffrey Epstein that is also underage. And this shows us now that the Southern District Court of New York, the same one that says that we're not going to comment on our decision not to charge any of these people, specifically Leslie Groff, is now admitting that this is what they wanted to do back in 2019, everybody. They literally wrote it out and had plans to charge him with sex trafficking conspiracy. And not only that, but look at this. They even acknowledged that back in 2002 through 2005, this already happened at this location where Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, or one of his employees or associates, paid the victim in cash. Victims typically were paid hundreds of dollars in cash for each encounter. They're literally saying that this already happened in this residence and that it is evidence for the crime of sex trafficking conspiracy where more people are aiding Epstein in the abuse of these young victims. Look, they literally say it right here. Upper East Side of Manhattan, New York. Between at least in or about 2002 and in or about 2005, Epstein abused numerous minor victims at the New York residence by causing these victims to be recruited to engage in paid sex acts with him. Recruited by who? Other little girls? By Leslie fucking Groff? Is that what she's doing here? Is that what she's doing here? Was Adriana Machinska or Ross or whatever the fuck her name, who was doing that in Florida, doing that again? Emailing Epstein, hey sexy, what's up? Can I recruit some young girls for you? Is that what Sarah Vickers was doing when integral role in operating Epstein's operation of sex trafficking of this girl and other girls? Because guys, that's what it seems like they're saying here. It already happened once in this residence, and not only that, but read this too. From at least in or about 2002 up to and including in or about 2005 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, and others known and unknown, willfully and knowingly did combine, conspire, confederate, and agree together and with each other to commit an offense against the United States, to wit, sex trafficking of minors. They go on to say that these people would and did, in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce, recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, and obtain by any means a person and to benefit financially and by receiving anything of value from participation in a venture which is engaged in any such act, knowing that the person had not attained the age of 18 years and would be caused to engage in a commercial sex act. This federal indictment from the same exact court where they established probable cause to go after Epstein for the crime of sex trafficking conspiracy is now saying that they're not going to charge any of these people, and they are declining to comment on why that is. And get this, let me read this to you guys too. Federal agents arrested Epstein in August 2019 following an investigation from Miami Herald reporter Julie K. Brown that exposed the scope of the agreement. He died in his jail cell while awaiting trial. In 2020, the FBI arrested Ghislaine Maxwell on suspicion of trafficking girls to Epstein and sexually abusing them herself. But this is the interesting part. Prior to her conviction, Maxwell argued that the same non-prosecution agreement protected her from all federal prosecution. U.S. District Judge Allison Nathan, who oversaw her case, rejected that argument. This argument has been rejected. These co-conspirators, these four women, the ones that I just showed you all this evidence that were still involved in New York during this time, recruiting young girls and causing all these problems, are no longer protected by this non-prosecution agreement. So why aren't they being charged? The same court which wanted to indict Epstein and found probable cause to do so for conspiracy and admitted that there were other people helping him recruit and abuse these women are not going to be charged, and they are declining to comment. And there has been absolutely no update from them on their stance or their position on this issue whatsoever since Business Insider, which is who wrote this article, asked them about their decision to do this. There's been absolutely no follow-up to this. Nothing is happening. It is so obvious at this point that these women were involved after the Florida incident in the late 2000s with Epstein. They continued to help him, and they are being charged for absolutely no reason other than whatever it is that you and I can probably imagine, which is something like blackmail material being used to compel people in the federal government not to come after them. And so I'm actually going to end this video with a message to the Southern District Court of New York. You guys need to think about what you're doing, and you guys need to realize that this is becoming more and more obvious with every day that you are doing some very corrupt shit, that you guys are likely compromised and nobody can trust you anymore. And I want you to think about how long it's actually going to be before you find yourself on the other side of the podium. Thank you all for listening. I will see you in the next video.